Hello and good day everyone. So for our today's lesson, we have obtaining trigonometric values given one of them. Yan, may kasabihan nga tayo, sabi dun sa old saying, tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. That's according to a Mexican proverb. Pero ngayon, meron tayong version yan. So sa Trigo, ang version natin is tell me who your friends, tell me who you are. And dun sa old saying, tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. Dito baliktad. Tell me who you are and I'll tell you who your friends are. Yan. So pag alam, ibig sabihin, pag alam na natin yung isa dun sa mga trigonometric function values, malalaman na natin pati yung mga friends niya. Okay, so what do we mean by that? So alamin natin yung lesson objectives natin for today. Of course, we need to recall the trigonometric identities. And of course, our major objective will be to determine other trigonometric function values given one of them. Okay? So, ito po yung ating mga trigonometric identities. Ito yung ating famous trigohexagon. This is the famous set of trigonometric identities. Ito yung ating quotient, reciprocal identities, quotient identities, and Pythagorean identities. Pero ang pinaka-useful dito is the reciprocal identities, itong set of reciprocal identities natin. Yan. To replace this, pwede nating magamit na lang, instead of this quotient and Pythagorean, pwede nating magamit yung sine, cosine, and tangent. Alternative ito dito sa dalawang ito. Okay? So yung sine theta, cosine theta, and tangent theta, pwede tayong gumamit ng right triangle wherein the sine is opposite over the hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and of course, the TOA, the tangent is opposite over adjacent. Yan. So, papunta na tayo sa exciting part. Let's have this example. Kuha tayo ng ating pen. Ang theme natin is purple. Kuha tayo ng purple pen. Okay, so find the rest of the trigonometric values associated with theta given sine theta equal to 3/5 and theta is in quadrant 1. Okay, so ito yung ating right triangle. Pero first of all, ang una nating marirecall is the reciprocal identity. No? So related to sine, syempre ang reciprocal niya is cosecant. So cosecant will just be the reciprocal of 3/5. So that will just be 5/3. Ayun. So nakakaisa na tayo, meaning apat na lang. No? So apat na lang. So para mahanap natin yun, pwede tayong gumamit ng Pythagorean identity para mahanap natin yung cosine. So, yung Pythagorean natin, di ba? Cosine theta is equal to the square root, positive, negative, of 1 minus sine squared theta. Okay, pero pwede naman nating hanapin din to using this right triangle. The easier one is to use this right triangle, wherein this one is opposite and this is the hypotenuse from the saw of the SOHCAHTOA. Okay? So, say dito yung theta natin. One of the acute angles dapat yung theta. Tapos, the opposite will be this, 3 here. Ito yung opposite. And of course, yung hypotenuse is 5. Okay? So, to solve for this, pwede tayong gumamit ng Pythagorean theorem, or kung alam natin yung Pythagorean triple associated with this, we will know immediately that this is 4. Yan yung 3, 4, 5 Pythagorean triple or 3, 4, 5 right triangle. Okay? So this is referring to the adjacent leg. Yan, adjacent to the theta we're referring to. Ayan, so ibig sabihin yung ka, di ba? So ka, TOA, that is actually the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Take note, we're using positive values kasi nagre-represent to ng mga sides, no? So, 4 adjacent, hypotenuse is 5. So, that means cosine theta is 4 over 5 numerically. Pero refer tayo dun sa quadrant, no? This is theta here is in quadrant 1, which means all trigonometric function values associated with theta are all positive. Yay! Di ba? All functions, all trigo functions are positive in quadrant 1. Okay, so hindi na natin gagawin tong negative. Yay! So what about the second theta? Yun kagad yung magiging kasunod ng cosine kasi it's just the reciprocal, no? Ganun ka-importante yung reciprocal identities natin. So this will just be 5/4. Ngayon, kailangan na lang natin is the tangent theta. Pwede tayong gumamit dito ng quotient identity natin, yung sine over cosine. So, we need the 3/5 over 4/5 magka-cancel lang yung 5 na denominator. Or another option is to make use of the TOA. That would be opposite over adjacent. So 3/4 pa din. Yan. Or coming from 3/5 over 4/5, 3/4 pa din ang makukuha natin. And of course, the cotangent theta is 4/3. So, yun yung sinasabi natin na, tell me who you are and I'll tell you who your friends are. Okay. So, ayun yung mga friends ni sin theta. You can always pause this video if you still need to absorb what we've been discussing. Okay. So, dito tayo. Ito yung tangent A. So, equal siya sa -5/12 and we're asked to find the rest of the trigonometric values associated with A given that this is the tangent tapos A is in quadrant 2. We take note of that. So, A is here and we also take note that only the sine and cosecant are positive in quadrant 2. Okay? So, tangent A, so mahanap na kagad natin yung reciprocal niya. Si cotangent A, that's -12 over 5. Okay? Gamit ulit tayo ng right triangle. Okay, so A yung ating acute angle, say this one. Since we know this is referring to opposite over adjacent, so this is your opposite. Yan, ito yung opposite. Tapos the adjacent will be 12. Yan. We're using again the positive values para mag-refer dun sa length ng mga sides. Solving for the hypotenuse using Pythagorean theorem, di ba? 5 squared plus 12 squared is 169. Square root is 13. Yan. Or if you're aware that this is a Pythagorean triple, that's actually the 5, 12, 13 Pythagorean triple, you can solve immediately for this hypotenuse being equal to 13. Ayun, so using this, mas madali tayong mag-refer kaysa gumamit pa tayo ng mga identities na iba, no? Actually, pwede natin gamitin yung Pythagorean identity related to tangent and secant, where tangent squared plus 1 is equal to secant squared, no? Pwede naman din, no? Kaya lang mas madali po ito. Okay, so we can make use of this for the OH sign yun, di ba? Sin theta is opposite or sin A is opposite over hypotenuse. And we're aware that this is in quadrant 2, kaya positive. Okay? Reciprocal is cosecant. So, this is 13 over 5. Ayan. Puntahan naman natin yung sa SOHCAHTOA. That would be adjacent over hypotenuse. So, cosine A is 12 over 13. But then again, this will be negative kasi nasan nga ba siya? Nasa second quadrant. And of course, the second reciprocal of cosine will be -13 over 12. Ayan. We can also take note from here that every time yung sine tsaka yung cosine are in fractional form, they have the same denominator. Ayun, we can also take note of that, no? Pag nasa fractional form. Parang kumbaga sa magkapatid, magkaapelyido si sine tsaka si cosine. Okay, so that's it. Ayun yung ating tell me who you are and I'll tell you who your friends are. Okay. Let's have this example. Find the rest of the trigonometric values associated with theta, given that secant theta is equal to 2 and theta is in quadrant 4. So we take note that in quadrant 4, only the cosine and the secant are positive. Okay? So, ang mangyayari niyan, yung reciprocal, pwede na nating hanapin. Immediately, yung reciprocal kagad, no? Cosine theta is 1/2. Positive yun. Okay? So, okay na tayo dito sa dalawang to. The rest will be negative. Okay? So, gamit ulit tayo ng ating right triangle. Okay, so ito yung theta ulit. Adjacent over hypotenuse. That's cosine. Coming from this value 1/2. Okay? Solving for this other side, no, bali 4 minus 1, that would be square root of 3. So this is square root of 3. Which means square root of 3 opposite 2 is the hypotenuse. That would give us the sine theta. So sine theta is opposite over hypotenuse. But of course, we have to remember that this will be negative. Okay? Tapos yung cosecant theta, this will be the reciprocal, and rationalizing that, that will be negative 2 square root of 3 over 3. Okay, ni-rationalize na po natin. Supposedly, that is negative 2 over square root of 3. Ayan, so si tangent na lang at saka si cotangent. So tangent theta will be coming from sine over cosine. Ay, magkapilido sila. Same denominator. Okay? Or pwede tayong gumamit ng OA, opposite over adjacent. Yan. So, that will be square root of 3 over 1. So, square root of 3. Pero fourth quadrant, si theta. So, this is negative. Okay? And then, si cotangent is the reciprocal. That will be 1 over square root of 3 or square root of 3 over 3. Yan yung numerical value. Pero dahil fourth quadrant, negative. Okay? So, ayun yung ating tell me who you are and I'll tell you who your friends are. Okay. So, tingnan naman natin yung mga double tsaka half angles. How about these formulas? Paano kapag sila naman yung mga kailanganin natin? Okay? So, subukan na lang nating hanapin yung mga basic of the trigonometric functions. No? So, si sine, cosine, and tangent. Okay? So, eto medyo na-absuelto na tayo sa tangent. So, ano na tayo, naka-minus na tayo. So, we don't need to find this anymore. So, si sine tsaka si cosine na lang. So, actually, ang makikita natin dito, si x, itong angle natin. Ay, sorry, yung tangent pala, tangent x, kailangan pa din pala natin kasi we're given with tangent of x over 2. We take note of that. Okay? Ayan. So, kailangan natin, since ang hinahanap natin is double of the angle here, yung angle na nandito is double, laging ang kailangan natin reference, in reference to the functions we want to determine. So, these angles here are double of the angle given. The angle in the given, rather. Okay? So, si x ay doble ni x over 2. Kaya double angle formulas. Again, si x ay doble ni x over 2. Okay? So, ang magiging style natin dito is to solve first for the sine and cosine. Sine and cosine para magamit natin yung sine 2x. This is easier to use than this one kasi magkaka-quadratic pa tayo, magkakaroon pa tayo ng quadratic equation dito sa iba. Okay? So, we prefer using the sine of 2x na formula. Okay? So, ang modification niyan, according to our required and the given, okay, since ang kailangan natin is x, sine x, this will be magiging sine x. Tapos, di ba, ito magiging kalahati ng nandito sa angle dito. So, kalahati ng x will be x over 2. So, 2 of sine x over 2 cosine of x over 2. Okay. So, ang kailangan natin si sine and cosine given that this is the tangent of x over 2. Okay. So, ayun. Bali kung 2 yung ating tangent, we can imagine this having a denominator of 1. See? So, ang mangyayari, meron kang opposite and adjacent na 2 and 1 respectively. So, kunwari ito yung ating theta which is x over 2. Kunwari ito si angle na x over 2. Ang opposite niya is 2, adjacent is 1. We now have to solve for the hypotenuse. Okay, so squaring this, it's 4. Ito ay 1. So 4 plus 1 is 5, which means this is square root of 5. O diba? 4 plus 1 is the square of that. Okay, 5. So bali lalabas natin, meron tayong sine of x over 2. Ayan. Iba nilalagyan pa po ito ng parenthesis. Pwede naman din. That will be 2 over square root of 5. Ayun yung kanyang OH. So, ang cosine niya, that will be 1 over square root of 5. Yan. Notice that we're not rationalizing our answers kasi anyway, mamumultiply naman natin yung dalawang square root of 5 dito. So, this will be 2 Tapos yung factor na sign is 2 over square root of 5. Tapos yung cosine is 1 over square root of 5. So ayun, bali ang numerator natin, multiplying the numerators by 2, that will be 4. Tapos yung denominator natin is 5. Okay, so ayun po, meron na tayong sin x na 4/5. Okay, ngayon kung ito na po yung sin x natin, remember our x is in quadrant 2. Okay, so quadrant 2, ibig sabihin, only the sine and cosecant are positive. Kaya si cosine of x, tsaka si tangent x, magiging negative. So, unahan na natin ang negative. Baka makalimutan natin. Okay? But then again, magre-refer tayo dito sa right angle na to. Okay? So, ay right triangle rather. So, kung may right triangle tayo, this time, yung ating acute angle ay si x. Okay? So, x. So, eto si O, opposite. Eto si hypotenuse. So, you have a 4 here and a 5 there. So, ibig sabihin yung remaining leg or yung other leg is 3. Okay? Ibig sabihin, kung ito yung OH, the AH, the ka, is 3/5. So, negative 3/5 is our cosine. Yung tangent natin, opposite over adjacent. So, that would be negative 4/3 naman. Okay? So, those are the easier ways of computing for this rather than to use this function or this equation rigorously o ito din, mas pinili natin to, mas simple siyang sundan. Okay, so there you go. Let's go to our next example. Let's determine the sine theta, cosine theta, and tangent theta given naman si secant 2 theta. This time, anong kinalaman ni theta kay 2 theta? Laging in reference to what is being asked. Theta is half of the angle there that is in the given. No? So, gamit tayo ng half angle formulas natin. Okay? Alin dito yung pinaka-convenient nating gamitin? So, mukhang tangent is not an option kasi dalawa pa yung kailangan natin sa kanya. Okay? Although ang maganda kay tangent, wala tayong radical. Okay? Kaya lang yun nga, you need to solve for the cosine and the sine first. Which is, pwede naman kung tutuusin. Okay? Ayun, sige, gamitan na lang natin ito, yung tangent, para wala tayong radical. Ano? Ayan, so, ang pwede nating masolve is the tangent of, ayan, so ang modification nitong formula na to, tangent of theta, yan, it's half, this is half of the angles here. Okay, so this is 1 minus cosine of theta, 2 theta rather, over sine of 2 theta. That would be the modification of the formula that we have here. Okay. Ayan. So, given the secant 2 theta, tapos nasa quadrant 3 tayo, yung 2 theta is in quadrant 3, that would mean ang ating tangent and cotangent, yun lang ang positive. So, the rest will be negative. So, 2 theta is right here. We take note of that. So, si cosine, yung cosine ng 2 theta will be negative, no? Yan. So, negative of 1 over square root of 2. Or negative square root of 2 over 2 pag ni-rationalize. Okay? So, kailangan na, cosine of 2 theta rather. Reciprocal ng secant 2 theta is cosine 2 theta. Okay? Ayan. Tapos, para ma-solve natin yung sine 2 theta, we can just refer to our triangle. No? So, paano ba yung triangle natin? 2 theta naman yung ating given. This is 2 theta na acute angle. This is adjacent. This is the hypotenuse. So, hypotenuse adjacent. Okay? So, to get the other side, that will be 4 minus 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. So, that would mean this is square root of 2 din. Okay? O, di ba pag in-square ko to, 2. Square ko to, 2. And that is, the sum is 4, which is the square of this hypotenuse. Ayun, so square root of 2 over 2 rin pala to. Pero negative, no? Kasi nasa third quadrant nga si 2 theta. So negative siya. Ayun. So kung negative siya, ayun, let's plug it in here. Makukuha na natin si tangent theta, 1 minus cosine. So that would be 1 plus square root of 2 over 2. Tapos sa baba will be negative square root of 2 over 2. O diba? Wala tayong radical. So ito gagawin natin 2 over 2. So ang magka-cancel, magiging similar fractions to. That would be 2 plus square root of 2 all over 2. All over negative square root of 2 over 2. Cancel si 2. Ang matitira kay tangent is 2 plus square root of 2 over square root of 2, negative of that. Okay? So, pag ni-rationalize, that would be negative 2. Multiply natin itong numerator by square root of 2 as well as yung denominator. So, multiplying by square root of 2 over square root of 2, this is negative 2 square root of 2 by distributive property. Ayan. Ay, labas na lang natin yung negative. Lagay na lang natin in front of the fraction, this one, para hindi na natin i-distribute. Lagay natin sa unahan. So, nagmumultiply tayo by square root of 2. This one will be 2. Tapos sa baba, multiplying this by square root of 2, that would be 2 din. Okay. Ayun. So, you notice magka-cancel lang, no? Pag minultiply by, pag dinivide by 2 yung bawat term. So, that would be square root of 2 plus 1. Okay. Tama po ba? Paki-double check. So, that would be negative of square root of 2 plus 1. Okay. Ayan. So, we have the tangent theta. Ang kailangan na lang natin si sine tsaka si cosine. Okay. So, erase na natin yung nasa upper part. Focus na tayo kay tangent. Let's erase this. So, gamit na naman tayo ng ating right triangle na lang, no, para mas madali. Okay. Ayan. So, by the way, if 2 theta is in quadrant 3, lalabas, nasa interval siya na between, let's get our pen, it's actually between 180 and 270 degrees. Yan. So, pwede nating i-spell out yun sa inequality. 2 theta is between 180 and 270 degrees. Okay? Ayan. Tapos, lalabas nito, if you divide everything by 2, theta is between 90 to 135 degrees. So, 90 to 135, so ibig sabihin, nandito yung theta mo, between 90 and 135, our theta is somewhere here. Second quadrant yun. So, that explains why our tangent is negative. That's why tangent theta is negative. Okay? So, expected natin the sine theta will be positive kasi nasa second quadrant, pero yung cosine theta will be negative. Okay? So, gamit tayo ng ating right triangle. Okay, mas madali ba yun compared to that one? Tingnan natin ha. So, bali negative. This is actually, pag in-square natin, medyo mahirap. Pero challenging. Sige, let's see. Hindi pala ganun kadali, no? So, gamit na lang tayo ng mga values natin kanina. Biglang ganun no? Sige, wag na tayo mag-triangle. Pero, that's another option that you can also use actually. Pero I'm presenting the easy way of doing it. The easier way of doing it here. So, we'd rather use the one that the one that is in this formula or also this one na lang, okay? So, gamit tayo ng formula natin. Medyo mas magiging masikip nga lang po. This is sine theta. We're making this as theta. So, that is half of the angle here. So, this is 2 theta. Okay. So, we remember cosine 2 theta. We write it here. Is negative square root of 2 over 2. Okay. So, yung sine theta, sana mapagkasya natin, ano? is positive. Positive square root kasi nga for second quadrant. 1 minus negative. 1 minus negative. So magiging plus square root of 2 over 2 all over 2. Ayan. So pag ni-rationalize natin, we can multiply by 2 over 2. Ayan. Multiply tayo by 2 over 2. Ayan. So that would be, ito magiging square root of, by distributive property, 2 plus square root of 2. Okay. Tapos sa baba, all over 2. Nawala na sa radical. Okay. So that will be our sine theta. Tapos for our cosine theta naman, yan, kailangan alam natin yung kanyang sign kasi nasa second quadrant. So kailangan alam natin na between this, ang pipiliin natin is the negative. So again, if we make this a theta, yan, it is half of the angle here. So this is 2 theta. Okay, so ayun po, gamit na naman natin. So that will be square root. Supposedly, it's 1 plus. Kaya lang, since negative yon, it will become minus. So 1 minus square root of 2 over 2 all over 2. So again, we multiply by 2 over 2, both numerator and denominator para mas madali. So distributive property, that would be negative square root of 2 minus square root of 2 all over 2. And that is our cosine theta. Okay, we can check that if we're going to square this plus the square of this, di ba same denominator, ano? Pagka fraction form, si sine and cosine. If you're going to square them, the sum of this, sine squared plus cosine squared, is equal to 1. Okay? Tapos, if you divide this by this one, that will simplify to the tangent theta also. Sine over cosine is equal to tangent theta. Okay, so that's it. That means there should be no such thing as boring mathematics. So that's it for our today's lesson. I hope you had fun. So have a good day. God bless everyone.